Cool. Okay, we have here the standing hip thrust machine. So if Zach gets in, he can have a quick look. So for probably about 2-3 weeks, the girls have been saying, so what is this machine? And I've been describing it as a Mr. Bean machine, which Zach will like. The reason being is they've said, okay, so how does it work? And I've sat on the lat pull down and said, right, and you bring the brace down so it's in your thighs where you typically have a bar for a hip thrust, and then you basically stand up and perform it almost like you're Mr. Bean, the Mr. Bean dance. Okay, so I will show you on the actual machine. I'll show you with no weight and then we can add resistance. So let's get this out of the way so it makes it easier to get in. Now, the seat is quite low slung, so you can go nice and deep in the exercise. These rollers are only here to avoid you getting in the way of the plate loading area. So just put your feet on the plate. If you're taller, then you're going to want your feet further away on the plate, whereas myself, I am 5'9", so I will go around about here. I know that's going to be right for me. Right, and I've got the extension out, so there's some adjustment for people that are smaller than me. You can come further down. If you were taller, we've had a couple of taller people on here, then you just put your feet further away. So let's lock that into position. Hold on to the handles, and then literally stand up. And then normal technique of squeezing your glutes at the top. Okay, now I really like this machine. I think it's well designed. And I'll say some things I like about it. Now, one thing is I've continually seen, if you type in standing hip thrust, then there's like a viral video, similar to like the leg press ones where you see people that are hypermobile and they lock their knees out and then they do themselves a serious damage. There's one video, and I've only seen one video, where people are like, never use this machine. However, on the video, this pad is not on this machine. It's not, granted, it doesn't look like it's a very well designed machine. The pad is all the way up here on the person performing the exercise. So it's right behind the knee. And the pad, although this pad is set at a reasonable height, you've basically got forces going like that in either direction of the knee. So they end up with an ACL injury. Now, the reason this video went viral is because it is one of those freak videos. But really, you should have your feet on the plate anyway. You can't adjust this pad, but you shouldn't have a pad up here with the forces going like that. I'm sure if I included that video on this video, then we get a hell of a lot more hits, but it's not very nice. So I've got no real need to show you that. And in terms of whether it would be a danger to you, you consider sports. My boy rugby tackled me yesterday, came right in at the hips like this. Well, if my feet are stationary like they were when he tackled me, then if my feet are stationary like this, and I've got this load here, so let's just lower it down. So let's say I add this load like that, then my feet are stationary. So I'm planted at my feet and the load's going there. So even my boy at 9 driving into me and almost knocking me off my feet, then that's a hell of a lot more force at the velocity that he's traveling than is going to be on this machine. So I'm not poo-pooing the video. I'm just saying that it's posted to get hits. So adding resistance. We do have band pegs. Everyone likes using band pegs. So you just use something like a hip circle and you can add resistance this way. There's 2 on there, so you can add them either side. And that does add resistance in a very nice way. But we're going to put on some plates as well. So I'll go with both the band and we'll put on a couple of plates to give you an idea. We have had different girls on here. Girls and ladies, I should say. Where I've known they're not only keen to use it, but I can see why in a busy gym you might not want to do a barbell hip thrust. Like Gav's daughter being an example, is I got her on here because I know she would appreciate using this machine, and she ended up doing about 4 or 5 sets only about half an hour ago. Another one who I spoke to about it with earlier, is powerlifter Emma, and I shall tell you for why once I perform this exercise. So there we go, I'm planted at my feet. There's quite, with both plates and the band, there's a reasonable amount of resistance on there, and it feels comfortable. Now, the reason I mentioned Emma is you kind of think, with all these glute machines coming out, are you just appealing to the fashion of glute training? But Emma's a powerlifter, so she ain't going to be training for fashion. She's training for the lift. And when you consider that powerlifters include things like barbell hip thrusts to improve their lockout, whether it's deadlift or squat, then I suppose barbell hip thrust has more of a crossover because you're in that horizontal position with the glute drive associated with bench press. Whereas say squat or deadlift, which is going to be what you want a more common crossover, is then they practice the hip drive because of the sticky point. So let's say I'm here with a deadlift and I want to drive through with my hips. Well, for me, this replicates it a lot more. So from a sports specific point of view, then a standing hip thrust, then I think there's a lot more crossover things like a deadlift or squat. So much so, we're going to do an experiment. So if you hold on there, Zach, do like a little bit of wiggling around. I'm not suggesting you set this up, but I just want to do an experiment myself. I'll stick a little bit of load on my back because we've got a leg blaster next door. So I'll stick a little load on my back, and I want to do both a squat and then, to make it force me, do a bit of hip drive. Okay? I'm back.
12 seconds later.
Thanks, Zach. This is take 2. I tried it with the leg blast around the other way and it just did not work. So that is like a blooper. Right, don't try this. After what we were talking about though, I just fancied it as an experiment. Well, actually that works. Because I'm doing a normal squat, but I'm being forced to drive my hips out at the same time. As soon as we get to anywhere near the sticky point. Oh. Now there's going to be no requirement for such a machine if we made a hybrid. Just wanted to experiment to see the crossover myself. Okay, that works. Right, let's get this off. There we go, we are out. Let's get this off, and as if by magic, Archie's turned off, so he can rugby tackle me now. Archie! Hold on, let me get this off. Let me dump this off my back. Right, rugby tackle. Oh, God. There we go, that was a lot more force, wasn't it? Right, we are done.